let's actually go around the room really quickly, introduce ourselves, make sure everyone knows everybody.
I'm Anya. Michelle.
Sean.
Aaron. Kate. Carolina. Sue.
Jan.
Aaron.
And Alex. I'd like to start this talk off by first of all announcing this is the Sun Valley CrossFit Practical, that word is important, Practical Winter Paleo Challenge 2014. And I'd like to start by reading World Class Fitness in 100 Words. This was the original document that came from Greg Glassman, who started CrossFit. And let's just see how this resonates with you guys. World Class Fitness in 100 Words. Eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. Keep intake to levels that will support exercise but not body fat. Practice and train the major lifts. Deadlift, clean, squat, presses, clean and jerk, and snatch. Similarly, master the basics of gymnastics. Pull-ups, dips, rope climbs, push-ups, sit-ups, presses, to handstands, pirouettes. We don't really do that in here. Flips, we don't really do that either. Splits and holds. Bike, run, swim, row, etc. Hard and fast. 5 or 6 days a week. Mix these elements in as many combinations and patterns as creativity will allow. Routine is the enemy. Keep workouts short, intense. Regularly learn and play new sports. Has everyone read that before, or is that the first time? Yeah? So that's basically, that's what we do in here. CrossFit has changed a little bit over the years, but this still holds true. And this is a great way to start this talk. You'll all get this handout. This is the challenge, by the way. It's going to be emailed to you, so make sure you get the right email on that list that we're handing out. And we're going to send you a copy of the challenge right here. There'll be a point sheet. There'll be a journal for recording food intake. And you're also going to get a copy of a little book called the Paleo Plan. This is an ebook. It usually costs $30. It's included in the challenge. This will answer most of your questions about paleo eating and anything that this book will not answer. We're going to be here. All the coaches are well versed in paleo and in this challenge, and we're a big part of the challenge. In other words, come to us. We're expecting you to come with lots of questions. Okay? The journal where you're going to be journaling your food and the points that you're going to be keeping, we'd like you to bring that in every Wednesday. Okay, so we're starting this challenge on Wednesday. Let me go over the important dates really quickly. The lecture is today. Start date for the challenge is on Wednesday, January 15th. We're going to finish it on the 13th, just in time for Valentine's Day. Pretty slick, huh? And once a week, if you guys could bring in your data, that way we can evaluate it and help you with it. And that's the basic idea there. So, there are a couple things that we can go over. We'll talk a little bit more. When we finish this lecture, you guys are going to walk out really understanding what the challenge is about. But basically, we're going to have 2 tracks for this challenge. There's going to be one track which will be paleo, right? And there will be another track which will be paleo and zone. Okay? When we say paleo, do you guys know what paleo is? Yes? Okay, what is paleo? Help me out here.
Meat, vegetables.
Let's go. Meat, vegetables, what else?
Nuts, seeds.
Nuts, seeds.
Some fruit.
Help. Some fruit. Some fruit.
Red wine.
Red wine. It's made from fruit. It is made from fruit. What are we missing up there?
Yeah.
What is paleo not?
Legumes.
It's not, okay, legumes. Legumes are going to be there. No legumes. What else is it not?
No sugar.
No sugar? Yeah. Anything else? No starch? No dairy?
Anything with a mascot.
Anything that has, what was
It
that?
has a mascot.
If it's a mascot, it's fair game? Is that what you're
It's,
saying?
it's not paleo.
Not paleo. Okay, so yeah, that is pretty much correct. This is, if it doesn't grow out of the ground, or if it's not a wild, if it's not an animal product, anything that is processed is not going to be paleo, right? So it's a very simple diet, very, very simple diet. It's also known as the caveman diet. It's getting bashed, by the way, by the New York, who is it? USA Today, or I don't know. It's going around. It's getting bashed, and for all the wrong reasons. Basically, it is a anti-inflammatory diet. Do you guys know what inflammation is? What is? Anyone have a good definition for inflammation? How does inflammation show up in the body? All sorts of terrible ways. That's great. Let's start listing them. Like what? Like swelling, bloated, right? That's a good one. How about achy joints, right? If it gets really diseased, it turns into arthritis, right? Irritable bowel syndrome. How about swollen gums, gum disease? It goes on and on and on. Atherosclerosis, inflammation inside of your arteries and veins. That's heart disease, a type of heart disease. Right, so inflammation is super dangerous. And if you could eat in a way that keeps the inflammatory response in your body down, you're going to be much better off. I wrote it down here, and I was purposely covering it. Inflammation is the body's attempt at self-protection. So if you eat something that is, your body registers it as being vile or bad for it, and your body's trying to protect itself, at some point it may start to lose. And when it loses, you get inflammation. So it's pretty, things are pretty bad. By the time inflammation is happening, it's already really bad. Okay, so this diet, which is anti-inflammatory, and we'll call the paleo diet, is one way to keep inflammation down in your body. So the paleo diet tells us what to eat, but it doesn't tell us how much to eat. Okay, and that's why we look at the zone. The zone is a very interesting diet here. So the zone is really looking at how much do you eat, right? But it doesn't, it's funny because it's incomplete because it doesn't tell you what to eat. It just tells you how much. So on the zone, if you read The Zone by Barry Sears, you could eat Twinkies on the zone if you can find one nowadays. That was a joke, you guys. Yeah, you could eat anything. You could eat Oreo cookies. You could zone it out. And basically, they're looking at whatever this food item is, and they're looking at the macronutrient levels in the food, and they're giving it. Oh, look at all those zone books! My goodness. They're giving it. They're assigning a value to it. Okay, so now if we combine paleo and zone, now we can start conversing and talking, right? Because we're eating good food, and we can actually measure how much food we're intaking. Okay, so I'm going to go kind of quickly through the zone. There are going to be questions in your handout. It's going to explain exactly how to do the zone. You're going to get all the little details. It's all in there. Okay, but basically, what we're doing is balancing macronutrients. Can someone tell me what is a macronutrient? Or give me an example. Fat. There's a macronutrient. Good. Another one. There are three. I'll tell you there are three. Protein. Oh yeah. What's another one? Carbohydrates. Okay, so there are three. Carbs, fats, and protein. Those are macronutrients. And when they enter the body, they're all important. You don't want to this idea of eating like a super low carb diet. It doesn't make a lot of sense. On the other end, you're missing something. The zone is looking at how much protein, fat, and carbs should you be taking in. So it comes out to being 40, 30, 30 in terms of percent. And don't let these numbers get you off in any way or confuse you. Carbohydrates are 40% of your diet. Protein and fats are about 30% of your diet. And the way the zone looks at this is Barry Sears developed a thing called the block system. Okay, so now we're talking in terms of blocks. Okay, try and grasp this idea. A block has a certain amount of carbs, protein, and fat in it. Okay, so a block is not carbs only. It's protein, fat, and carbs. And it is 40, 30, 30. That's just how it works out. This was given to us by Barry Sears. So, if we look at, and this is where we could get it could be a little bit confusing, but you do need to know this, and it's in your handout. A protein block is 7 grams of protein. Okay? A carb block is 1 gram of carbohydrate. Or, I'm sorry, 9 grams of carbohydrate. And a fat block is 1.5 grams of fat. Are you guys with me so far? Okay, we're gonna actually make some meals, so it's gonna be really easy. This will help balance your hormones. And what hormones are we talking about? We're talking about in particularly the hormones that give you energy, right? And the hormones that regulate blood sugar. So blood sugar, or glucose, everything you eat, by the way, ends up as glucose in one way or another. Okay, so it's very important to realize that. If you eat carbs, it very easily turns into glucose, right? And carbohydrates, glucose values are controlled by insulin. Do you guys know what insulin is? Have we heard about that before? Where does insulin come from? Pancreas, right? Okay, so you eat a bunch of carbs, your blood sugar starts to go up, insulin is released by the pancreas, and it keeps those levels from going up too high. If they went up too high, you'd fry your brain. It's very dangerous, right? And that's a type of diabetes. But basically, your pancreas has to work to produce insulin. Now, what if you don't eat carbs? You go on the Atkins diet. What happens then? Does your body produce insulin still? No? Okay. Well, okay. Let me fix that idea. If you don't produce insulin, you die. It's bad news. You have to produce insulin. You do. There are other ways of producing insulin in the body. I'm sorry. There are other ways of
Getting carbohydrates.
not getting carbohydrates, getting glucose into your blood. So you need glucose into your blood. Thanks. So if let's say you're doing a low carb diet, right? You still need to have glucose to function. Your brain runs off of glucose. What happens is glucagon gets released by the pancreas. So your pancreas is using insulin to bring glucose down and glucagon to push glucose into your system. So you're not eating any sugars. You need sugars, right? You're eating a bunch of protein. Glucagon gets released by the pancreas, and it communicates with your liver, which has stored glycogen, which is a carbohydrate, and that glycogen gets broken down through a process called gluconeogenesis, which you don't need to remember, and basically you get blood sugar coming into your blood, and your brain functions and your body functions. So do you see how these two things, this is supposed to be a teeter-totter here, right? Fat being in the middle, glucagon, that's protein. So glucagon is released when you eat protein, and basically it energizes you. The glucagon puts blood sugar into your body, and now you have energy to do stuff, to think. Blood sugar goes too high, insulin has to be released to keep the blood sugar from going too high, because it'll fry out your brain. Okay, these are hormones. Both of these are hormones that come from the pancreas. Fat, what does fat do? It's in the middle. It's kind of a balancing thing. Fat is very important. Low-fat diets are linked to a lot of problems. I mean, a huge list of problems. Your eyeballs are made of fat. Your skin is made of fat. Your nerves are encompassed in fat.
The brain is made of fat.
Your brain is made of fat. It's 90, what is it, 90% fat? Wow. Let's go on a low-fat diet. Ooh, that could be a problem. Okay, so this idea of balancing out foods using the zone 40, 30, 30, it works pretty well. It really does. Now, something that is really kind of interesting in this whole picture is with the zone, you could just eat just about anything, right? You could still zone it. And now if we add paleo to the picture, right, we start to get something happening that, that is favorable to do for a short period of time. And that's something that we will be doing in this challenge. When you look at your carb intake, right, if you're getting it from cookies and high density, like there's a lot of sugar in a small amount of food, right? So if you're eating processed foods, it's very easy to do that. And now you replace this, you replace that side of the teeter-totter with vegetables. Quick question, is this a carbohydrate?
Yes.
Yeah, it sure is. Look at this thing, wow, 20 ounces of spinach. That's a lot of spinach. How many blocks do you think this is?
2.
Probably 2, maybe less. I can't recall. There's a chart in your handout, but it's like 5 cups of spinach is like 1 block, or 8 cups of spinach. It's like ridiculous, right?
You cook it down.
Cook it down. It's like it turns into something small. But is it, just to give you guys a really good idea, in terms of carbohydrate content, this equals this, right? That's a lot of sugar in there. That little banana, actually a banana is 3 blocks. This is a medium-sized one, so this one's probably 2 blocks. They're about equal in terms of carbohydrate content. What's going to fill you up more? Oh yeah. What's going to last longer? In terms of, if we talk about putting a log on a fire versus kindling, like kindling is going to burn fast, it's going to give you energy fast, but then it's kind of done, right? This is the log, this is the kindling. It isn't that this is bad. You got to understand that. This is actually quite good, and depending on when you use it, it's very important. Your timing, when you use these high glycemic fruits, it's very important to have the right timing for that. Would you eat a bag of spinach? Talk about timing. Would you eat this bag of spinach before doing a CrossFit workout? No, right? If you ate it within 90 minutes of the CrossFit workout, you're probably not going to be doing that great. Maybe 2 hours before you could do it. Maybe 90 minutes, but certainly not 45 minutes before. What about that? What if you eat this 15 minutes before a workout? You're going to be fine, right? High glycemic fruits are going to be very good to do before working out. Another great example, my personal favorite, dates. Right?
Maybe raisins.
Raisins. Raisins are a big hit. So here's the question. How much? How much of this? Are we going to, I'll tell you right now, we're not going to block this. This is the part where we're not going to use the zone. Okay? For snacks, we're not going to use the zone. For right before a workout, we're not going to use the zone. For right after a workout, we may not use the zone either. The zone we're going to use for big meals. Okay? When you're really going to sit down and feed yourself. But this is like something that's going to ensure that you're going to get through a workout, you're going to have the energy to get through the workout, right? And you're not going to bonk halfway through. Who's done a workout where they haven't had enough carbs? Anybody? Jan, what can you explain to me what that feels like?
It's horrible.
It is horrible. It is horrible.
It's hard.
It's hard.
You crash halfway through, or you're a quarter of the way into it, and you're done. You can't, everything goes to shit.
Yep, and this can happen in short workouts as well. I had it happen to me last week. I hopped into the noon WOD, didn't really have breakfast, there was nothing in the tank, started the workout. First round, it was a 3-round workout. First round was great, second round was okay. Third round took me longer than the first 2 to finish it. It was a mess. It's like you feel like your body is out of energy, and that's quite literally what is happening. It's important to realize that. So does that clarify what the difference between paleo and zone? And then if we put the two together, That's where we're going to get the magic. Okay? And so I want to go over a couple other lifestyle factors that are very important and are part of this challenge. And I'll go through these rather quickly. Sleep. Right? We're going to go for 8 hours of sleep per night. Why? Why do we need, what's so important with sleep?
So your body repairs itself.
Your body repairs itself, yeah. And how is it repairing itself? Just basically, does it just do it? It kind of does, right? It is automatic. It's regulated automatically. It is. But the things that really repair yourself are the things that we also see people using in the doping world. We just have to look at like who's doping and what are they using, right? And why are they using it? Well, they're so worn out that they need replenishment, right? Well, when we sleep, it's the same thing. We're increasing our testosterone production so we can have more muscle on our bodies. We're increasing growth hormone, right? That's going to help regulate the amount of fat that's on our bodies, right? We're giving our body a rest. And it's very important. It's a very important thing. People that have sleeping problems end up with a whole lot of other issues that are key to sleep. The World Health Organization calls sleep the #1 most important thing for fighting cancer. That's kind of a big deal. So the sleep thing's big, 8 hours a night. How about water? Like water. Water's great. How much water should we be drinking? Anybody know?
Half your body weight.
You got half your body weight in ounces. What does that look like? Here's my little thing of water here. This is 32 ounces. If you're a 200-pound male, it's 100 ounces. So I need about 3.5 of these a day. Does that make sense? Who does that already? Be honest. Come on. Yeah? Good. I used to drink water. That's my joke. But I'm really... I used to drink it. You know. I swear I drink... when I'm doing a challenge like this, I'm on it, man. And it's organization that's going to get you there. I will fill up all my water in the morning and bring it around with me until it's done. I'll be sick of carrying it, you know. You just got to get it in you, right? So that's super important. But I'm impressed that if you guys drink that much water, that's actually really good. That's very good. Hydration is one of the most important things. It's one of the main reasons why people go into the emergency room with cardiac arrhythmias, you know, dizziness, blissfulness. You know, there are a million things. There's a great book out, and it might be in that pile, I'm not sure, or else it's over there, called The Body's Many Cries for Water. And that's a good read. You should check it out. Mobility. What's mobility? Like, what is it really?
Warming and stretching.
Yeah, it's stretching. That stretching will help with your mobility, but what is, if we had to define mobility, how would we define it? What's a good way to define it?
Range of motion.
Range of motion is good. How about being able to get into position to do whatever it is you want to do, right? Easily, with ease, right? If you're really super tight and you're on the hill and you're trying to get into position and your legs don't come up, you're going to have a hard time skiing, right? So mobility starts to become, that's just one example, of course, mobility becomes like a huge, huge important role, especially as we see it more. People notice it when they get older. You know, but I swear to God, man, I trained some kids that are 12 years old and they have huge mobility issues. It's just not on their radar. They don't see it. You know, so it's very important. And the nice thing about Olympic lifts, we just did an Olympic lifting seminar in here. I'll tell you what I like about the Olympic lifts the most is that you have to be very mobile and very flexible to be able to do them well. Right? If you're, you know, power cleans, maybe not so much, or a power snatch, not so much. But as soon as you want to do a squat snatch or a squat clean, you have to be very flexible. So use those lifts in here for your mobility to help motivate you.
The top Olympic lifters, the ones that you see at the Olympics, every single one of them can do a full split of directions without stretching. So, because that's the amount of hip flexibility that's required to do some of those lifts with high weight.
It's kind of crazy when you see a 400-pound dude going to the splits.
Dmitry Klokov doing the splits is hysterical.
It's especially in the suit. Do they wear the suit when they do
I
that?
don't think they can get too far in the suit. But yeah, they're all extremely, extremely flexible.
Mm. Let's go through a couple more of these. How about restorative? A restorative practice, right? And this is actually really important. We added this in our last challenge. It's very important. Very important. Do you guys, anyone have a restorative practice in here? Anyone meditate? Yeah, Carolina meditates. Anyone do any Tai Chi or Qigong? Does the thought of doing that nauseate you? No?
But hot tubbing.
Hot tubbing. Kind of. Restorative practice, we're going to define it right now. Restorative practice means that you're working on your breathing. Okay, you're really working on your breathing and calming yourself down. You know, going for a walk calms you down, right? It's not really restorative practice. It's healthy. It's a good thing to do. You could do a walking meditation where you close your eyes and you really work with your breathing. Tai Chi is this breathing. That's it. It's breathing to movement. That's what Qigong is also. There's some good instructors. There's some people over at the Y that are doing that. There's some people up at Zenergy that are doing it. Richard Odom does a class, a restorative yoga class, which I've heard great things about. I haven't personally been, but it's something I'm going to put on the calendar.
I think he just came out with a DVD about it.
He came out with a DVD on tennis.
Yeah,
Yes, it's a
I've
tennis.
seen the restorative yoga one.
So restorative practice, right? And we can talk more about it. If you don't have this all wired and you're not like coming up with big light bulbs of how to do this, that's what we're for here. That's what your coaches are for. We're going to help you with that. But the restorative practice is a big part of this. Exercise. That's easy, right? We'll just do CrossFit. Right? Why would we do CrossFit? Why do we put that one in there? Well, so the gym could stay alive. No, that's not it. that's not it. Why, if we just did one thing or another thing, we wouldn't get a full result. And we want to, if you think back to that 100 words of Elite Fitness, right? We're talking about lifting barbells as well as doing cardio. And if you look at today's workout, which was right over here, pull it up on you. What do we have? We had 16 minutes of lifting, right? Followed by probably 12 to 15 minutes of doing some pretty heavy-duty cardio. So we're kind of trying to hit it all in 1 hour. Does that mean you don't want to go cross-country skiing? No, you want to develop those things. Again, going back to the 100 words of fitness, last thing was routine is the enemy. What a great idea. Wow, routine is the enemy. Only doing what you're good at. It doesn't give you a full broad spectrum fitness. Routine is the enemy. Regularly learn and play new sports. How many people Nordic ski in here? Okay. How many people have never been on Nordic skis? Okay. We'll see. May get a chance. What about alpine skiing? Yeah. Is that exercise? Yes, it is. It's exercise if you do it for about 4 hours. Right? How long do you have to alpine ski? I guess it depends how hard you're skiing too, of course. If you ski like Jan, you maybe get it done in 30 minutes. But it's a great sport. It's right up, you have this beautiful hill, but it's like, you're sitting on a lift, you're going up, you're going down. It takes, I don't know. We'll ask Jan because it put him on the spot. He is an alpine skier. Do you feel like you get exercise from alpine skiing?
Well, it depends on if you're just cruising around or if you're really working on, technique or if you're running gates or something like that.
Yeah. So if you're running gates or you're doing top to bottom runs or
yeah, if you're really, to get technical, it depends on your turn shape. It depends on how you're approaching the hill. There
we go.
If you're cruising college for 4 hours, then you're probably not getting that much out of it. But if you're, warm springs top to bottom runs for, 5 or 10 of those in a row, you'd be pretty toasted.
Yeah. I would agree with that. So there's a sport where you really have to know how to ski to get a great workout. That's what I would
I'm
say.
not thinking that the lodge is there to help out with the workout part.
And the lodge, I love the, you know, yeah.
It's kind of free.
So it's interesting that, you know, but is it a valuable thing to do? I want to say absolutely it is. Does it clear your head? Is it healthy? For sure. It really is. In terms of exercise though, the reason why we're going to choose CrossFit as an exercise is because you're going to do things in here which you're not going to do out there. And the intensity is going to be higher and the effect is going to be greater. That's it. There are some supplements which you don't need to take. You can get points for it or not. The supplements are there for a reason. There's a fish oil supplement, and we can talk about concentration and dosage of this. That's for inflammation, to reduce inflammation. Right? Does it work? Seems to work. Seems to work really well, but you have to have the dosage up high enough. And so we use a brand that has a very high dose. 1 teaspoon is 3.7 grams, and compared to like taking pills, that's about 5 capsules, right? Most people have settled between 2 and 3 teaspoons. That's between 10 and 15 capsules worth. So if you want to take the capsules, be my guest, but that's a lot of capsules, right? It doesn't taste bad, and it seems to, you know, people that have tried it in here, not just me, have noticed a big difference in doing that. Magnesium. Why magnesium? Anybody know that one? Why do we take magnesium? It's very low in our soil. It doesn't get into our vegetables like it used to 100 years ago. In fact, vegetables 100 years ago had a lot more in them than now. There's some people that say you can't be healthy without supplementing. I don't know if I really buy that. But I think that some supplements make a lot of sense. And magnesium, to me, makes a lot of sense. It also helps with recovery. It helps your muscles relax. So we have that one. We also use a whey protein source from a company called SFH. Grass-fed, free-range animals, comes from New Zealand. We used to use Progenics. Everyone loved their Progenics. Everyone was sad to see it go. We let it go because it has sucralose in it, artificial sweeteners, and it's made with not the best milk, just regular dairy milk. So it has all the undesirable things in there that we don't want. So there we go. These are all aspects of being healthy. Okay, and I just want to talk this very briefly about what is healthy, and maybe get you to think a little bit about like where you're at now, because I think a lot of people in this room right now eat well. Who eats well? Raise your hand. Who eats really, really well? Like, I mean, like I'm saying all this stuff, and really well would be like who's eating a paleo diet right now? 90% of the time. Let's be honest. I'm not raising my hand either. Are you 90? Because I know you and Peggy do, you know, follow a lot of stuff, but is it really 90% or? So, you know, one way to gauge is when you do, you know, you either eat pure paleo and you just don't let anything else in during this challenge, right? Or when you're zoning your meals, you know, you're eating paleo, and now you have something where you can actually look at the quantity and we can actually discuss that. But no one's over 80. Is anyone over 80? 80% paleo? 70%? 70? I think I'm about 70 right now, or 65 even. I mean, all-time low. Okay, anyone under 50?
Well, are you talking alcohol, so
Is yes. What we see we can't. Here's the thing. You know, I love a glass of wine. I'll be honest, but we can't like not talk about alcohol. You can't. What is alcohol? What is alcohol? Depends on what it's sugar, right? Are there better alcohols that are more in the paleo area than others?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Tequila, wine, right? Are all wines created equal? We could probably get into a discussion or not.
wines?
Are all wines created equal?
No, I wouldn't think wine would be up there with tequila at all.
Wine is made from what? From grapes? right? So he had a good start, right? And then what happens to the wine? I guess it depends on the winemaker. And what kind of grapes were they? What kind of water did they have? You know, I mean, it gets into that whole thing. But what is the basic effect of alcohol on the body? It turns into glucose, just like everything else. This bag of spinach turns into glucose, right? It does.
The body has to break it down versus one, it just
Yes,
sugar.
exactly. If we take 1 ounce of alcohol, right, and I don't know how many blocks, I wish I knew that off the top of my head. Do you know how many blocks in an ounce of alcohol? Or how
I think
many?
it's like 3 in a shot.
Okay, so it's like three carb blocks. It's only carbs, right, in a shot, right? So how fast does a shot go down? Depends how good the party is, right? Yeah. So let's just do this little graph here. Okay. You take a shot, and this is going to be, here's a shot. Right? And this is going to be our bag of spinach. We'll use that again. Okay, and this is going to be insulin. Here's the point. You take a shot, your pancreas has to produce, this is time, right here, time. Your body has to produce insulin very quickly, so your brain doesn't get fried. Now, I don't know everything about alcohol. I don't know exactly what when you get a buzz, what is that buzz? I'm not exactly sure what creates that feeling. But if you look at time, right, the amount of insulin for the alcohol shot and the amount of insulin for that freaking huge bag of spinach is the same. You get that? You could say that with a lot of foods. You could say that's dates and that's broccoli, right? Kindling versus a log. And this is actually really huge. This is really important to understand because you need both. Sometimes you want this, right before a workout. Sometimes you want this to sustain yourself through a long workday or a long day on the mountain. Do you eat a big breakfast before you go skiing?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping in.
You're not sleeping in? Yeah. I eat a huge breakfast before I go skiing. I don't get to ski that much, so I really try to make my days worthwhile. But yeah, huge breakfast, and that seems to work really, really well. And that actually works pretty well for, if you're sitting at a desk and working all day, right? If you do a huge breakfast that has a lot of this stuff in it, you're going to sit at your desk and you're going to put on a lot of body fat, right? You're going to get fat. And that's important to understand that the point here is that all carbohydrates are not equal. There's a spectrum called the glycemic index. That's one way of evaluating these things, right? So really quickly, which one has the higher glycemic index? Raisins or, let me pick a good one. I'll make it easy for you. Broccoli. Raisins. Okay, that was really easy. How about dates and apples?
Or dates.
Apples or dates? Who has the higher glycemic index? Dates. Very good. How about sweet potatoes? I'm going to make a real hard one. Sweet potatoes and caramelized carrots. Which one?
Caramelized carrots.
Caramelized carrots are higher. Yeah. Because they turn into pure sugar when they get caramelized. So the point is that all carbs are not created equal. If we look here, diseased, super fit, right? And then in the middle, average. Who wants to be average? In here, I'd like to see if does anyone want to be average? No? Who hates being average? I think most people don't want to be average. Here's a point. Most people, including your doctor, they strive for average. You get a blood test back, right? We're looking at averages, we're looking at parameters, right? What's your blood pressure? What should it be? Does anyone know? 120/80, right? They haven't changed that in years. That's average blood pressure. When I work with a lot of really good athletes, when they were rested, not overtrained, their blood pressure is very low. Resting heart rate's very low. It's not average. Okay, so I'm going to take the blood pressure one really quickly because this is me. These are my numbers. 120/80 for years and years. Competitive athlete. 120/80, I always thought that's what it's going to be, right? Went on a paleo diet, anti-inflammatory diet, especially when I started doing the zone. Blood pressure, 105/70. I'm like, what the heck happened? I'll tell you what happened. Inflammation went down. That's what happened. The body is not fighting so much to try and keep things good. Remember, inflammation is the body's attempt at self-protection, right? So now all of a sudden my body doesn't have to protect itself so much. So if you start thinking about what goes in your mouth in terms of inflammation and how it works on your organs, it's a lot easier to take a 30-day period like what we're about to do and stick to it, right? I know, especially if you really like wine. This is, by the way, this is called a, I think, we call it a Le Mans start. What is it when they have those racing, the race cars go, they don't like start from, they start and they're moving. They take a lap and then they start racing. Is that a Le Mans start? Or am I totally butchering that? Okay. Anyway, that's what we're doing in this challenge. We're actually starting not at a standstill. You'll notice when you read through your data, you're allowed to have 3 glasses of wine a week for your first week, right? And then, yay! And then it's kind of over, depending on which track you take, right? Depending on which track you take. If we look at this, super fit, diseased is going to be a very poor state of health. You're weak, you usually have a pretty bad mood. ADD, oh yeah, you can't keep your thoughts on anything. Very forgetful, a lot of soreness, a lot of achiness in the body, puffiness, right? We see this a lot in older people that have spent a long time eating poorly. A bloated feeling, distended belly, and there's probably a lot more we could put in there, right? I put breathing here in the middle, right? Because breathing is bad over here. It's hard to breathe. I mean, I feel really bad when I see people that are in this state because it is really hard to breathe. Breathing problems come from inflammation. As we go over here, super fit, great health, blood pressure 105/70, right? Happy mood for the most part, right? Anyone can have a down day, but for the most part, pretty happy. Sharp mind, nimble body, right? That's getting into our mobility. Does eating a paleo diet affect your mobility? Probably, yes. Yeah, I wouldn't ask the question if it wasn't. Got to run? Okay. Did you? Able to do sports without incident. I put that one in there because we live in a very active place. What happens if you don't lift weights and go downhill skiing and ski real hard? You might be crippled for a week, right? Okay. And that happens a lot. I remember once playing a volleyball game, thinking that it was just a fun pickup volleyball game, and I was wrecked for a week. Like, it was terrible. Like, I had knee problems. I felt like I pulled muscles. It was terrible. But if you are in good health, and especially if you're doing CrossFit and doing some lifting along with it, then you should be able to go out and play these sports and be virtually unscathed afterwards. That's a goal. Tight belly, strong. These are all signs of being fit. So, are there any questions so far in this stuff? No? Let's get to this part. Why do this challenge? What are your reasons? Anybody? Reason? Do you have a reason?
Mine is the structured environment to do it with the group so that I stick to particularly the one that.
Structured environment. I mean, it's hard. If you're used to drinking wine, look, I lived in Europe. I love drinking wine. I have friends in Europe that drink wine every day. It's like, and they seem to be pretty healthy. I know a guy who's 101 years old, a friend of Shell's, who drinks a half a bottle of wine a night. Now, he doesn't move that well anymore, but he's 101. For God's sake, we'll let him off the hook. Right? But let's share some more reasons.
Mine's the same as hers.
Yeah, I'm going to take her answer. Carolina, what about you?
Well, feel better.
Feel better?
That was mine.
That was yours, so that's good.
What's that?
Lose body fat. That's great. That's a good one. That's a really important one. What about body fat? What is it? What is body fat?
Extra glucose that didn't get used.
Extra glucose that didn't get used. And what happened? That glucose is in your bloodstream because you're not using it, and insulin comes out there, right? Get from the pancreas. Insulin is the gatekeeper to your cells. You have a little cell here. Nothing gets in or out without insulin. That's why you die without insulin. Type 1 diabetes, you got to inject it, right? So you eat too many carbs, and fat cells will open up, and free-floating fat in your blood starts going in there. That's how you get fat, right? Control. That's why the low-carb diets work on some level for reducing body fat for a short period of time. You can't live that way. And we're talking about doing a practical paleo challenge. We're hoping that at the end of this, that you guys keep going on some level. You know, maybe not 100% perfect, but that you keep going. Keep going with it. So this idea of structured environment, and then the other thing I wrote up here is do something that you haven't done before. This is my 8th challenge or 9th challenge in 4 years. I'm not going to hit the reset button. I want to do something that I haven't done before. Okay? And I would encourage you guys to start thinking that way too. You know, don't take on too much. But like if you've never done a zoned meal in your life, you might want to look at track 2. Because we actually made it a practical challenge. You only have to zone 1 meal in the 3rd week of this challenge. And you only have to zone 2 meals in the 4th week. So it isn't like, wow, you've got to zone everything. That'll make you crazy, I'll tell you. And that is not practical. You will not keep that up. But zoning meals, once you learn how to do it, it's actually not that bad. It's actually kind of fun. It makes creating your meals a little bit more fun. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Let's put it together, get the right package, boom. So structured. Anyone else want to share why they're doing the challenge before I move on? John?
Like a structured, healthy diet that you can apply to the rest of the other 11 months of the year.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Not strictly necessarily, but
Yeah.
a better choice.
Anybody else?
I thought, when I did it before, I thought the zoning part was really hard. Because it's not like a recipe. It's not like you can say, okay, eat this, and this is what it is. So it seemed like it was just super time consuming, but
See, it can make you crazy. Zoning can actually make you crazy. You get out the teaspoons, you get out the scale, right? It's like, how do you do this stuff, right? In the handout, there's a very practical way of how to do the zone, right? But there is no way to do the zone without weighing and measuring and looking at your labels. Do you have to do that forever? And still, you can still do the zone. Because after a while, you start to memorize this stuff. Right? You know that 1 cup of cooked broccoli is 1 block. Right? Or a piece of chicken, a certain size is 3 blocks. Right? So it starts to become easy, but you have to put in a little bit of groundwork in the beginning. So this idea of one-upping yourself. Do something you haven't done before. If the zone is it, it's easy. Just do the zone. Learn how to do it. We're here for you. We will get you through this. I promise. No one has lost an eye. And people have actually come out the other end feeling pretty darn good about doing it because it makes you feel awesome. It really does work. So no excuses on that one. The goals that I think most people could probably all rally around: decreasing body fat, increasing muscle, right? Lowering inflammation, yeah, we all want that. And then what about body weight? Some of you will go up in body weight, some will go down, right? And some will stay the same. It just depends on what you need, right? So if we eat properly here, what's going to happen is I've seen some people change dramatically and they've lost a ½ pound. And they're like, I lost a ½ pound. And then when they look at their before pictures and after pictures, it's like 2 different people. Right? Muscle weighs more than fat. We don't want to strip off too much muscle. This is not a starvation diet. You're going to eat plenty of good food. So let me wrap this up here. Fueling strategies. We'll get right into it. Meals are going to be 3 to 6 blocks, right? That's a meal. A 3-block meal, once you get below a 3-block meal, you're turning into, is it really going to last for a couple hours or not? Probably not. It's not going to be enough food. So we're talking 3 to 6 block meals, 2 to 3 of those a day, right? The rest you can make up in snacks. Do you have to eat 5 times a day? Have you guys ever heard about that? Like you eat 5 times a day, it's supposed to keep your metabolic rate up. And I don't know if that's true. I really don't know if that's true. I'm telling you, I don't know everything, but I don't think it's true. It doesn't really work that well for me personally. And I've seen a lot of people that try and do that, and they're driving themselves crazy trying to eat every 2 hours to keep their blood sugar steady. I think it's a far better approach, and this is my suggestion, a far better approach to have a real meal. Like sit down and eat. Get a big meal in you, and you have to pick what time of day where that works. Everyone's schedule is going to be different. If you're in here working out at 9 o'clock in the morning at the 9 a.m. WOD, right, you're not going to sit down and have a 5 or 6 block meal at 7. It's not a great idea. You'd probably do a 2-block snack, right? Come in and, or a 2-block small meal, come in, do the workout, and then within an hour or so, you want to have your big meal. Right? That's going to work better for you. So there's nothing that's set in stone. Everyone's schedule is going to be different. Again, the coaches can help with that. So this idea of 3 to 6 blocks, snacks are 1 to 2 blocks, non-blocked snacks pre and post exercise. You don't need to block before or after, right afterwards. Okay? Do you understand why? Or does anyone want us to take a stab at that?
Replacing what the workout for.
So after a workout, let's say we do a really hard workout like Helen, right? We want to eat something within 3 minutes, if possible, after that workout. And that's why a shake is actually very good. But it has to be a hard workout, right? If you did a medium workout or an easy workout, you're going to go out there and start pounding your post-exercise shake, right? What's going to happen? You're probably going to have some insulin, and some fat storage from that, right? So the idea of after hard workouts, getting stuff in you, it's very important. And the only reason why we're not blocking is fat helps satiate you. It's in the middle of the satiator, right? But fat is not going to help you with your recovery directly after exercise. And if you take fat in right before exercise, it may hinder your ability to perform. Okay? So the idea here is you don't want to take things in that are going to not be used. Right? Does that make sense? Let's go over it real quick. We're coming to CrossFit. You're driving from Haley, or you're driving from wherever. It's 45 minutes before. You realize that, wow, I have not eaten. What are you going to do?
Banana.
Yes. Some bananas, some dates, drink a little bit of water in the car. You get here, you're ready to exercise, bada bing, bada boom, bada bang. Right afterwards, what do you do? What's that?
3 minutes afterwards,
Drink a protein shake. What if you didn't want to do the whey? What if you're not into the products? What do? Food-wise?
Eat a hard-boiled egg.
You could do 1 or 2 blocks worth of protein and carbs. Leave the fat out of it. The fat's going to slow down your ability to recover at that point. This, again, is all in the handout that you'll read, but that's just a real-life, practical way of doing it. This is a good one. How long does it take to eat a meal? Depends how big it is, right? Okay, a real meal, the way we're defining it. How about this for an answer? Longer than you think. You got to sit down, prepare the thing. You got to block out some time to eat. And if you're not doing that now, many people don't. It means cooking, preparing, sitting down there, actually enjoying this meal, sitting down and getting it in you. So it takes me about 15 to 20 minutes to eat a meal, like a real meal. That's kind of a long time. If there are a lot of vegetables, that's a lot of chewing that's going on there too. So that's important to factor this in as you're doing this challenge. you want to find a block count, getting back to the zone, that works for meals and snacks. That works for meals, and then you fill it in with snacks as it goes through. Does that make sense? So in other words, your main blocks, your main nutrition is coming from your meals, and then snacks kind of get you through the day. If you're eating lots of good food, never starving, it's okay to be hungry once in a while, but really only once in a while. You're going to be surprised. You could lose a lot of body fat and eat a lot of food. And actually, that's the best way to do it. How much food? It's in your handout. It also will help you with your block count. Okay, remember the blocks don't come in till later in the challenge. Okay, Anya's going to go over in just a second, basically a couple things about point tracking and the food journal in the challenge. Tips for success. That's also it's in this document. You can read about it. Organization is the key, being really organized. Have good food around always. And part of organization looks like this. It really looks like this. We're going to very quickly organize a meal. Okay?
Are we gonna eat it?
Yeah, if you want. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's go with the spinach just because it's going to be easy. We're going to call this 3 blocks. Okay?
Sweet.
Well, it's 20 ounces. 3 is probably, you know what? It's probably only, I take it back. It's probably only 2. This is raw. So it's 5 cups. You see the thing for it's cups. It doesn't say the gram conversion. I'm going to work on that. What is that? That's our carbs, right? Okay, so let's just say that we had 3 blocks of carbs coming from vegetables. Okay, let's make a 4-block meal. We're going to make a hungry man meal. We're going to say that that's coming from vegetables. Okay, so that means it's 3 blocks.
One cup of broccoli is a block.
Yeah, when you cook spinach down, I think it's 1 1/4 cups of spinach is 1 block. So I'm guessing that would probably make 2 cups of spinach, something like that. Half a banana, we count that as a block, right? We got our carbs taken care of, here they are. Okay, so what else do we need? We need some protein. How about some fish? It's 1 ounce of fish per block. Again, there's going to be a chart, right, that you can read from. So I look at my label here, it says 0.23 pounds. Let's see, now I have to convert that into ounces. You guys know how to convert pounds into ounces? What's that?
Ask Siri.
Ask Siri. You guys go on your iPhone and ask her. It is 16, is that right? 16 ounces to a pound? Okay, so we have 0.23.
It would be a quarter, so it'd be 4 ounces.
So this is almost 4 ounces, a little bit shy, right? So let's say that was a bigger piece of fish, just to help us out. So now we have 4 blocks of protein and we have 4 blocks of carbs. Now what? Fat. I didn't bring any fat, I can't believe it. Okay, no avocados. So let's go nuts. 3 almonds equals 1 block. 1 block. So if we put 12 almonds, we got a balanced meal. It's that easy. Does that make sense? You can do it with avocado. It's 1 teaspoon. I think it's 1 teaspoon.
No.
Is it a tablespoon? That makes me feel so much better. Okay, 4 tablespoons of avocado.
It's about half an avocado.
There we go.
Small.
Is that something to look like a kind of good salad? Maybe without the banana. Right? You could throw avocado, some nuts, have some fish, and then we have a nice, in the leaves, and we have a nice 4-block meal there.
How about then, like, just because that's what we're talking, so what do you do then to put a dressing on it? Does balsamic vinegar?
Oh, yeah, how do you do that?
Or-
Okay, so when you look through your paleo plan, which you're going to get tonight, right? It's going to say that vinegar is not paleo.
Well, what do you put in?
Okay, so if it's not paleo, right? That means it may cause inflammation. And when I say may, with some people will react more to certain things than others.
So there's no alternative, you have to eat
Yes,
it
you could use lemon
with
and olive.
olive
What could you
oil.
use? Let's make a salad dressing, you
Olive
guys.
oil?
What's it gonna be?
Lemon and olive oil.
All lemon and olive oil with some sea salt. Rocket salad, right there. Does that sound good? We put lemon and a little olive oil, some sea salt. People that are really athletic need more fat. Don't be scared of the fat. Do not be scared of the fat. We'll see some people that are CrossFitters where we go 5 times fat. 5 times, right? So if you're doing 4 blocks of protein, 4 blocks of carbs, instead of doing 4 blocks of fat, in that case it would be 20 blocks of fat, right? Don't start with that. Please don't start with that. Because you don't know. But if you're hungry, right, you're eating all these 4-block meals and you're like, God, I'm starving still, and you're not feeling satisfied, most likely your fat consumption is low. So instead of adding blocks and adding more protein, right, we're going to add more fat. Does that make sense? Fat's important. It's very important stuff. Does that make sense? What about eggs? 1 egg equals 1 block of what? Protein or fat?
Protein.
Protein, right? Is an egg 70% fat, true or false? True. Yeah, it's 70% fat. Yeah, eggs are super high in fat. Our most protein source is pretty high in fat. Yeah, they are. A lot of them are, right? Chicken isn't. If you go and get deli meat, like turkey, it's like the fat is like there's 0 fat in that thing. None, right? Look at your protein sources and see if there's fat in there or not. What about meatballs? A lot of fat in meatballs?
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of fat in meatballs, right? So you're probably not going to have to go 20 blocks extra fat with a meatball dinner, right? But now if you have a deli meat, you may need some extra avocado to balance that out because there's no fat.
Okay, I'm just gonna, but deli meat's so processed.
You can get some organic deli meats, but most of them are, yeah. It's usually, that's a whole nother discussion, like where does your meat come from, where does your food come from? It's an important discussion to have. We can have it later if you want. But what I want to encourage you guys to do is look at food that you're actually taking. You have 30 days here. You got 30 days to actually really look at what's on your plate. And you're going to actually, as you imbibe this and you put your meals together, start noticing what does it do for you. Does it make you feel, and this is your sheet here. So it's across a daily food journal. And you'll see that you have the date. Now, I'll let Ani go through this a little bit more. Meal description, I'm just going to point at one thing. It's going to say full, content, sluggish, very tired, or hungry afterwards. If you're doing this right, and you eat a meal, you're going to have a feeling of content. Not over full and bloated, right? That's too much. Definitely not sluggish. What would make you sluggish? Anybody? Ani, what would make you sluggish? What one element? Okay, wait, I'll make it easier. Is it protein, fat, or carbs? What makes you, if you eat a meal and you're sluggish, what do you think? You think carbs? Carbs? What do you think? Carbs? Anyone else? Everyone going with carbs?
Some proteins will make you like.
Proteins don't make you sluggish. Proteins, like you get to a point.
Chicken sometimes makes you tired.
How many people overeat protein in here? Anybody? I mean, I can't even do it. I mean, it's like, God, I just don't want, you eat the meat and you're like, okay, that's enough already. Carbs you could overeat, right? And then you're going to get a blood sugar crash. You're actually not going to get sluggish. Don't put down sluggish for that. You put down very tired, right? Okay, true confession. I was at Ski Hill on Saturday, and we had some of those really nice cookies, those chocolate chip cookies, right? Everyone at the table was like, oh, we just felt the energy go out of us, And then we went out skiing somewhere. But still, that's what carbs do. You get kind of wired and then tired. Feeling truly sluggish, like you feel slow in your head and your body's just bogging down, that is fat. That's too much fat consumption. Okay? And you'll be able to record that on here. So if you try that 20 blocks of fat and you're like, oh my God, I can't even think straight, that's what that is. Okay, so what would make you hungry? If you put down hungry here, what would make you hungry? You eat a meal and I'm hungry. Too many carbs could do that, but typically not enough blocks, right? And if you're really truly hungry, you have to look at that fat content. Is it making sense? What we want you to do here is actually start to evaluate what's going on. This little sheet is a piece of gold. And I'll tell you what, I'm the kind of guy that I hate writing things down. But I've learned more from doing this than just about anything. Because this is your accountability right here. And there's also going to be another piece of paper that will be a little score sheet and you can keep your points. And these are the two pieces that we want to see you guys bring in every Wednesday. Not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. Anya, do you want to go over a couple things?
Yeah.
You have a sheet.
All right, so since we're on the food journal, I'll just start with that. So you've got a bunch of different slots here, snack, breakfast, lunch, snack, like 3 different snack times. The point of this, if you're doing zone, this is going to be, of course, how you keep track of all your blocks and everything. Even if you're not doing zone, you should still fill this out every day because this is what we're going to be evaluating. And this was really telling during our last challenge as to what people were actually eating. And the biggest problem that we saw was that people weren't eating enough. You put paleo challenge, people start thinking diet, they start to think, oh, I can't eat this, and so they kind of stop eating like half the calories that they should. And so my biggest comment that I wrote to most people was eat more food because you're not eating enough food. The other problem is that there weren't enough vegetables in most people's diets. They get most of their carb sources from things like sweet potatoes, which I love and I eat like at least one a day, or fruit, and not enough vegetables. So, when you're writing these down, look at that meal and say, does it look balanced? Does it look like, do I have a protein source? Do I have a carbohydrate source? Do I have a fat source? And in that carbohydrate source, like what is making up that carbohydrate? Is it fruit? Is it vegetables? Is it something starchy? And then, of course, you've got places where you can write your blocks. You've got places where you can write how you feel after each meal, which we just went over. And then there's a little water calculator over here. So this is in glasses, which one glass is considered 8 ounces. So that's one way to figure it out. The other way I see people doing a lot of water is they'll just get like a milk jug, wash it out, mark on it like a time schedule, like at 11 o'clock I'm going to drink to here, at noon I'm going to drink to here. That's a great way to do it too. I tell myself I need to drink like at least 4 of these a day. And that works for me.
I lose count. I need a bigger jar.
The other thing you're going to be getting is the point tracker, which, do I have one? Do you have a point tracker? I might not have one. That'll be emailed to you. The point tracker is basically how you're going to keep track of all of these different elements. So we've got paleo. If you're doing zone, you're going to have zone. Lifestyle, and within lifestyle, there's going to be sleep, water, mobility, restorative, and CrossFit. So, if I was to do today, did I eat paleo today? Yes, 1 point. Did I eat zone today? No, no points for zone. That might not count depending on what week you're in. You'll see, it'll make more sense. Sleep. Did I get 8 hours of sleep last night? I did, so I get 1 point. Water. Have I had enough water today? We'll just say for the sake of it that no, I didn't, so I don't get any points for that. Mobility. I did 15 extra minutes of mobility today, so I get a point for that. Have not done anything restorative today, so I get 0 points for restorative. CrossFit, I did that, and I've done all of my supplements, so I'll get a point for those. So this is a way for you to kind of look at each day to start to notice trends. Like maybe you're really, really good at getting your workout in every day, but you suck at drinking water, or you suck at an extra 15 minutes of mobility, or you're not sleeping. So start to kind of recognize these patterns and try to get a point for everything. If you get 90% of your points, you're going to do extremely well in this challenge. You're going to see differences, you're going to notice differences. 80 to 90%, you might feel differences, you're not necessarily going to see them. Below 80%, it kind of depends on how well your body adapts, but you're probably not going to be getting the most out of this challenge.
That's when you give up.
That's you give up.
Never give up.
Just give up at that point.
Okay, so the way the different tracks are going to work. So if you're doing track A, it's a lot like our last paleo challenge. So you're going to have kind of these segue weeks where you're kind of building into eating paleo. So the first week, the only requirement that week is that you don't eat dairy. Everything else is fair game, no dairy. You're allowed to have coffee in the morning. You're actually allowed to have no cream.
No dairy. No cream, no sugar.
And you can have 3 alcoholic drinks that week. So, first week, not that hard. Second week, no dairy, no gluten. So gluten is found in wheat, rye, barley, and oats. You can still have rice and corn that week, and other starchy things that aren't necessarily have gluten in them. You can still have your coffee, and you can still have your alcohol. Weeks 3 and 4 are strict paleo. So that's when you've eliminated everything. So you're really only eating strict paleo for 2 weeks. That's really not that bad. You get a nice little segue into it, and then that's your challenge. For the second track, if this is the more advanced option, if you've already done a paleo challenge before, this is what I would recommend. You're going to be segueing in a little bit faster. So week 1 is going to be no dairy, no gluten. Knock those things out. Week 2 is going to be strict paleo. Week 3 is going to be strict paleo, and you're going to zone 1 meal a day. Just 1 meal a day. So whatever whatever meal you have the most time for, whether you have time for lunch or dinner or breakfast, whatever one it is, you're going to zone 1 meal.
Can you just juice that one?
Can you what? Can you juice it?
Yeah. Like the.
I'll answer that in a second.
That'd be gross.
I'll
Week
juice
4
it.
is going to be strict paleo, and you're going to zone 2 meals a day. So this is actually pretty easy to get into. We're giving you kind of a nice way to build into it, so it's not going to be super hard. There's going to be dates for all of these weeks lined out. It's going to be an appointment in your sheets and everything.
Can I ask let me ask a quick question. Who's doing track 1? Who's doing track 2? Have you guys decided? I'm going to highly encourage track 2. If you guys can do it.
Track 2 is awesome. It's definitely the harder one. And
It is harder,
requires-
yeah.
If you're going to be zoning meals, you need to take 2 days a week to plan cooking, to cook all your meals, to plan everything out. Talked about dates already. Before this, we're going to be doing before and after pictures. So in the next 2 days before the challenge starts, we're going to get pictures, guys in shorts and ladies in shorts and a sports bra. You want to be exposing as much skin as possible so you can really see the difference. The pictures are like the biggest indicator of change ever. We've got some great before and after pictures from our other challenges. So, and we're going to be doing weigh-ins and measurements. So we're going to take bust measurements, weights measurements, hip measurements. And then there's going to be a performance test. So that is going to be 2 workouts. There's 2 parts to the workout. There's going to be one that's very metabolic based, so kind of more cardio, and one that's more strength.
Let's tell them what it is.
Have
Should we do that?
decided what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
No, I can't remember what it is.
Okay, I'll tell you what it is. I love announcing this part. There's nothing you can do to prepare for this, so don't prepare for it. Okay? The strength test is a weighted pull-up. If you don't, or bands, right? That's it.
Going for
1 rep, 1 rep max, weighted pull-up.
What do you mean 1 rep? Just 1?
Just 1. How many, so for some people you can put 20, 30, 50 pounds around your waist and do 1 pull-up. For some people you're going to have to use a big black band, right? And then that will be retested in 30 days, right? Okay, and it has to be done the same way. If you have a grip this way, then you retest that way, right? But there's no kipping involved. It says how much weight can you pull up once. Okay, and then the metabolic test. 4 minutes of burpees. Remember that workout? Who did that workout when we had the stick in the middle, and we went over the stick. I know Aaron did it, right? So it's just 4 minutes. It's actually kind of a fun one. You don't have to come up and clap, you just have to go up and over. And that will be on Wednesday. It's part of the, don't tell anybody, but that's part of the workout on Wednesday. Okay? That will be your performance test. And then we will redo that after you do 30 days of working on working this challenge, and we'll see if there's a change. Right? And as well as the pictures.
4 minutes?
4 minutes, yeah.
So continuing on, the supplements that we recommend, the supplements are optional in this challenge. If you're not into supplements, that's fine. I highly recommend pretty much everything we have here. Well, everything we have here, I take everything we have here, so I can recommend it from a place of experience. Our fish oil supplement is a liquid fish oil, so you do have to drink it. It's a little bit gross. Alex loves it.
I love it.
I do not.
I don't have an issue. You use it, right?
Yeah.
So figure out
Aaron, is it gross or is it
It's
okay?
not gross, but I just moved mine to the refrigerator.
They should be refrigerated. Yes, serve it cold.
Refrigerated helps them. The other one is our ZMA, which is an anabolic mineral supplement. It's zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B6. It's a great post-workout supplement that kind of just resets your muscles. And then our whey protein is from SFH. We already talked about that. We should be getting in some bags tomorrow. We have a recovery option. We have just like a daily regular protein. And we're not doing the animals anymore, are we?
No.
So 2 options for that.
Pete's
Another
Paleo.
way, yes, Pete's Paleo. We have we're an affiliate of this company called Pete's Paleo. They're based out of San Diego,
Yep.
somewhere in Southern California. And they do pre-packaged paleo meals that they ship out once a week. You can order it. They'll ship it to you in a box, in a freezer box with ice packs. It's all frozen. You put it in the fridge. They come.
Look at this.
They look like this.
It's a neat packaging.
New packaging. You take
Much
it out.
better.
And everything
It's
is
much
ready
better.
to seal.
Very-
And so it looks a little bit.
Looks a little bit gross, but boom. You get 3 bags. You open up a
You
skillet.
get 2 vegetables and a
And you-
meat source. You put it in a skillet or microwave and you eat it. And these things are delicious.
They're fantastic.
They're
so good.
fantastic, aren't they?
Super easy to do. And this is
So we don't have to count anything, we just eat that?
these are technically not zoned.
It's not zoned.
That being said, if I was to look at this right now,
You could
we've
zone it.
got mushrooms, looks like potatoes, and whatever this is, it's meat. This is probably 3 blocks. This is probably 3 blocks total. This is
It's close. I would say that the Pete's Paleo is meat heavy. So you got to add some vegetables to
add a
it.
little bit of vegetables and add a little bit of fat on the outside. But they're great. They make it super easy. You don't have to cook. You can get it so they ship every week. It does obviously cost money, but if you compare it to what you would spend on a meal at Atkinson's, it's almost
It's almost the same.
So it ends
It
up
comes
being
out to-
one meal is about
How
like
much?
$12
$12
or
bucks. I think
something.
it's $12 a meal.
Which if you go to Atkinson's ever, I spend like easily spend
And
$20.
this is bio-organic. Bio-organic is the true organic.
It's soup. They have great suppliers. They use all locally processed meats and vegetables, and they're a really awesome company. And when you buy stuff from them, if you buy it through our website, there's a link on our front page. There's one of the banners that slides by. We get kickback from them. So, but I'm not just saying that so that you guys do that, because they're delicious. I eat them myself. Aaron's had them before. They're awesome.
I use
Super,
I have
super
them in my
easy.
freezer, so when I have time,
Cooking is an issue for you if you don't want to cook a lot.
Still eat them.
They're so good.
So if we're not doing the zone the first couple of weeks, could we just eat that?
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's good. I would say, I would probably
Without
burn,
mushroom?
I would burn out on Pete's Paleo if I was doing 2 meals a day from them. But I could do 1 a day.
Yeah.
I could do 1 a day for 30 days.
And the great thing about these is that you can stick them in the freezer and they'll keep for up to like 60 days in the freezer. So, because they're sealed.
I want to quickly answer some questions. Are there any questions? Carolina brought up one thing.
Well, like in the morning, I was thinking.
The juicing.
You can do, yeah, you can do the banana with the spinach or
Okay,
whatever.
so let me talk to you real quick about that. If you cook this up
Yeah,
and you eat it out of a bowl versus you take this thing and put it in a blender and puree it.
yeah,
Okay, it's the same bag.
yeah.
Does it affect the time that it takes to absorb the spinach?
Yes.
Yes. And does it affect how much insulin is being produced?
Yes.
No.
Well, only because it's.
So that was a trick question.
Oh, but
I
that's
got
only
you.
because it's finished.
So, no. The insulin is the same, whether you juice it or not. The delivery of the carbs into your bloodstream is completely different. Juicing will make you more fat than eating.
But even if it's
So
the same
I
amount.
want to say it that way. So you really understand this, going back to this diagram, right? Let's say that this is spinach juiced,
Okay.
and that is spinach eaten raw.
But
Kindling,
juice is raw.
so this, remember, this is insulin, right? The insulin is the same, right? So if you have a food, I take any food and compare it against itself, but I prepare it differently,
Uh-huh.
right? So any food is going to produce the same amount. It's going to be the same amount of carbs. Let's say I'm just going to say this is 10 carbs. 10 carbs. Okay. 10 carbs right there. Right? So 10 carbs, if you eat it in a raw form, it's the same amount of insulin, right? The carb count is the same. But the delivery of that insulin into your blood is going to be quite different. If I take that in a shot and I suck it down, boy, your body's going to go, whoa, carbs in the system! And your pancreas is going to pump out insulin very quickly. And that pancreas is not that accurate, by the way. It will overpump insulin a lot of times. Right? And now you produced a whole lot of insulin. Versus if you do something kind of slow, right? Remember, the caveman didn't have juicers.
The problem
I
with
don't know how long the
juicing
caveman-
destroys the fiber helps
Slow it
drag
down.
out the.
Oh, I should have said, or a smoothie, like a Vitamix.
So,
That's still
yeah, the
destroying.
juicing thing is my point is this, I'll just cut to the chase. Juicing is going to make you fat.
Even if you
And
balance.
it makes anybody fat.
Juicing that.
Juicing, it's not that juicing is terribly bad. It's if you, let's say you had a piece of meat, right? And you had a bunch of fat and you have 2 ounces of vegetable juice. That's okay. But as soon as you start going into the 10 to 16 ounce vegetable juices, boy, you are downloading a lot of carbohydrate into your system. A lot. Like all of a sudden you're getting a shot of like 60 to 80 grams of carbs in like one of those large juices. You guys remember Jamba Juice? Are they still around?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, it's really refreshing to have a Jamba Juice once in a while. It really is. But boy, that is a sugar punch. It's crazy how much sugar is in one of those.
So when you eat foods that have been juiced or put into a smoothie or anything that's already been broken down, you've skipped your body's natural process of breaking it down yourself. So by chewing it, the amylase in your saliva and then the digestive fluids in your stomach, that is what breaks food down so that you can then absorb it. When you put food that's already been broken down completely, like in a smoothie or a juice, you put it in there, your body's just ready to absorb it. It gets absorbed super fast. So instead of getting 10 grams of carbs over 2 hours, you get 10 grams of carbs in 15 minutes and then much
Oh, so it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pumps
so
up-
it's not
pumps up
really-
the insulin.
Yeah, it's not that smoothies are terrible and you should never ever have
No,
smoothies.
no.
But not on a regular basis.
Yeah. And so, and for this challenge, I would actually try. Remember, you want to do something different. If you've woken up every morning and you've juiced, hey, let's not do that. If you eat, let me say one thing. Who eats eggs every morning? I knew that. Okay, you're not allowed to do that anymore. You got to switch it up. You got to switch it up. You got to switch it up. You're not going to get a change if you don't switch it up. Right? I could ask a lot of other personal questions to get it out of you, but you need to ask those of yourself. What do I do? What's my go-to? What are your go-to foods right now? What do you eat all the time?
So will you guys put like a blog site on, it's really helpful when people can share recipes?
Mm-hmm.
You get an idea of what somebody ate for breakfast, you're like, wow, I never thought of that.
Correct.
And so
Let's
our
use Facebook.
Facebook page is a great place to do that. So if
Yep.
you guys follow us on Facebook, it's just facebook.com/Sun Valley CrossFit. Post things there. Post recipes, post ideas, email them to us and we'll post them. Our page is on there somewhere. That's a great way to share.
But you get them here, right, those meals? We get them here?
You have to order them and they ship them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about it tomorrow.
Okay, so we look online and then we figure it out.
Yeah, I can, in the email, so tomorrow, no later than noon, you will all be getting an email with all of the materials you're gonna need for this challenge. I will include in there a link to the Pete's Paleo website, so you guys can go check it out.
Also, Practical Paleo is a great cookbook.
Okay.
It
There's
is.
a bunch of good cookbooks.
In fact, does anyone know where my practical paleo?
Yes.
Oh, good, good.
One of my favorite websites is a website called PaleoMG, so PALEOMG, and it's this blogger who writes paleo recipes, and she's got the most amazing stuff ever, like paleo pancakes, which are delicious. Not so, but definitely paleo, and they're very good.
Any other questions about anything? Because you can ask them tonight, but you also have 30 days. This is what's everything that was underlined in green here, the paleo plan, a zone chart, videos that we're going to actually send to you, weekly challenges, which will be coming to you, the actual challenge itself, talking to your coaches. Those are all things that we supply. That's what you're paying for in the challenge. So you get to use those things. And as far as questions go, I think it's great. You know, we love entertaining questions. And I think it's really important to challenge yourself in the next 30 days. You know, it's not a scary thing. It's actually kind of it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing. You'll see great results. You'll make a big change in 30 days. And I think the way this challenge is laid out, it is practical. It is. It's a very nice, slow start into it. It's nothing too extreme.
Weaning you off certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the best way to do this, you know, you're going to get out of this what you put into it. You know, we have people that come in and they see the lecture and they'll maybe do it for a week and then they stop and they're never going to see results that way. But, you know, if you really want to see a change in your body, in your performance, in your soreness level, you know, like I said, 80 to 90% at least compliance with this. And then from there, you try to go on and integrate some of this stuff into your lifestyle. I mean, no one's going to eat perfectly paleo zone forever because it's just impossible. It's not that much fun after a while. But try to integrate things like, you know, balancing macronutrients, you know, eating more paleo foods than you would otherwise, you know, taking gluten out of your diet. These are things that you can integrate into your everyday life without sacrificing, you know, fun foods. I haven't eaten gluten in months, and I'm totally happy with that. So, the point of this is not to just give you 30 days to make a big difference, then you go and eat a bunch of hamburgers and say screw it, and you're never going to do it again. We want you guys to...
you have a day and a half, right? You have a day.
I'm saying
A day to do that.
I want you guys to take elements of this and change.
All right, you guys. Thanks for coming. Look forward to this next 30 days.
Is this, this paleo challenge specific
It
to
is
Sun Valley CrossFit, or is this something